When we were initially introduced to the First Order, fans had a lot of questions like, who are these guys and how did they get to be so powerful? You know, really basic stuff. Well, thanks to Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, we finally have some answers to these questions. But since we're going to talk about how the First Order became so powerful, you'll want to press pause if you haven't seen the movie yet, because there will be spoilers going forward, I promise. If you've already seen it, then strap into your Star Cruiser and let's get going. The short answer to the question, why is the First Order so powerful, is Emperor Palpatine. His determination to rule the galaxy has not wavered during his political career, or after he was unceremoniously removed from duty in Return of the Jedi. He wasn't so much defeated at the hands of his apprentice, Darth Vader, as much as he simply made a strategic retreat so that he could regroup and come back stronger than ever. You thought the Death Star was scary? How about an entire fleet of Star Destroyers? Return of the Jedi made it look like the Empire was well and truly defeated, but The Mandalorian revealed that the remaining Imperials didn't just give up. Completely eradicating an evil regime is as difficult as landing the imperfect shot in a thermal exhaust port. There were two really big reveals in The Rise of Skywalker, the first of which was that Rey is Emperor Palpatine's granddaughter, and the second is that Palpatine has been pulling the strings this whole time. I'm not trying to discredit the hard work put in by the folks like General Hux, but Palpatine was behind a lot of what made the First Order so successful. It was a terrible organization, but let's not pretend it wasn't an efficient one. They were good at what they did. The movie explored some of Finn's background as a stormtrooper and introduced us to other ex-members, including Jannah. They really bonded over the fact that they were both kidnapped as children and forced into servitude for the First Order. Sure, some of these kids grew up and defected like Finn and Jannah, but they were clearly in the minority. Kidnapping is a controversial recruitment technique, to say the least, but it's clearly an effective one. Many stormtroopers grew up being trained for battle and felt an allegiance to the First Order, the source of the only life they'd ever known. Plus, a lot of the kids came from impoverished places on the Outer Rim world, so their families weren't totally opposed to them being taken in, fed, and clothed, even if those gifts came with the potentially lethal strings attached. Another serious source of stormtroopers is, of course, cloning. The practice may raise a lot of ethical questions, but it's definitely handy if you've got an army to raise. But we all know that an army is much more than just warm bodies filling armor and holding blasters. You need to actually have armor and blasters for people to use, and that's not cheap when you're outfitting an entire army. The canon book Bloodline by Claudia Gray helps fill in a lot of what the movies don't cover. It takes place 6 years before The Force Awakens and focuses on Leia Organa's work with the New Republic. After the events of the original trilogy, the idea of any one group holding ultimate power in the galaxy put Leia understandably at edge. And consolidating power was exactly what the centrists hoped to do. They wanted a strong central government and military, and actually admired many aspects of the old empire. Of course, this fit right into the goals of the First Order. Centrists helped provide funds to the First Order, who had another lucrative source of income around at this time. A group of soldiers known as the Amexine Warriors were used as proxies to funnel money into the criminal Rin Ravine D's cartel, and these funds made their way to the First Order. So basically, the First Order got its wealth from shady criminal activities and people who wanted to further their own political goals. Movie audiences tend to be more interested in high-flying space battles than wondering who paid for all those spaceships, so it's not surprising this didn't make it to the big screen. To get around the Galactic Concordance Treaty banning the sale of weapons to the First Order, Blastech Industries and Merson Munitions created a subsidiary known as Sonblast, which provided arms, while similar subsidiaries provided spacecrafts and vehicles. But now let's get back to Palpatine and his invaluable contributions to the First Order. He was the one who set up the contingency plan to be used in case anything had ever happened to him, like for instance his former apprentice turning against him and throwing him from a great height. It basically assured that a new form of the Galactic Empire would eventually be reborn, and we now know that Palpatine was around to supervise his own plan the whole time. Talk about being a control freak. He just had to be there for his own contingency plan that was contingent on him losing his life. Yeah, we get it, man. Anyway, while Palpatine laid low, he created Snoke to lead the First Order and manipulated Ben Solo into joining his cause. And since Palpatine was on board, he was able to utilize the Sith Eternal, a group of fanatics who believed that the Siths should rule the galaxy. As soon as the First Order found some backers, it was able to loot and pillage various planets and essentially take all the money they needed, which they used for their own military and to further advance their technology, both of which they use to further loot and pillage. You see it? There's a cycle here. The First Order may have had an unbelievable amount of power, money, and resources, but you can have the latest videos from CBR, which is pretty great too, if I don't say so myself. Just click on the subscribe button and then turn on your notifications either from this page or in the settings menu if you're on your phone. Now you've gotten around the pesky YouTube algorithm to ensure your feed is filled with the best content possible. So what do you think fate has in store for our favorite far, far away galaxy in the aftermath of the Rise of Skywalker? Share your predictions with us in the comment section below, and don't forget to click subscribe to stay up to date with us here at CBR. See you next time.